Hey everybody, this is TJ with a Good Day to Roll Die, and today I am going to be starting, if I can put the book up here properly, starting a solo RPG adventure with Star Trek Captain's Log. So by Modiphius, it is basically taking their Star Trek Adventures rules, but making it for solo play. I've never played Star Trek Adventures. I really haven't played much in terms of RPGs in general. But I picked this one up last year. I thought it was kind of interesting. I wanted to give it a shot. I've played a little bit with the character creation. I've done a few short missions, but now I want to actually do kind of an extended campaign for this character. So I'm going to start here with building out a brand new character and going from there. So the game is very narrative based. It's very much like journaling. I almost kind of think of it as a adult choose your own adventure series where you kind of narrate to a decision point, and then you roll for a task to see if you succeed or fail, or maybe you roll on a probability matrix to see what is most likely to happen next, and then you react to whatever happens based on that roll. It's pretty simple. It's a 2d20 system, so it just requires two 20-sided dice. You see I have my virtual dice here today. We're only going to need one of them to develop our character, and we're going to go from there. So the character creation system is very open-ended. You can really kind of choose as much as you want to build the character if you really have kind of a very defined idea of who this person's going to be, or it can be very, very random. So I'm going to try to stick to the randomness to see what we generate. There are two things that I know for certain with this character. One is I want to have it set during the Next Generation era, although I'm kind of open to whether it's going to be kind of early TNG or maybe post-Dominion DS9 kind of thing. And the other thing is I want to have them as a human. We see a lot of humans in Starfleet. I am a human myself, as like some kind of partial, but we're gonna start there. Other than that, we'll see what we roll. So I'm gonna open up my book here and get going. Got to find the right selection here. So here we go. On page 92 of the Captain's Log manual, it starts the character creation part of it. You can see I have my character sheet open up. This is a free download from Modiphius's website. It's a fillable PDF, and that's what we're going to be working with here today. And I'll have my virtual die to roll as well, and we should be good to go from there. So I'm just going to get my screen set up so I can actually read them properly here. Very good. You'll see now that there are 6 attributes for every character. There's control, daring, fitness, insight, presence, and reason. And there are 6 disciplines: command, con, security, engineering, science, and medicine. So when you roll for a task, you're going to combine one attribute with one of your disciplines. You're going to add those numbers together. And then when you roll your 2 D20s, your goal is to roll at least one of those equal to or less than your combined skill level for that. So if you have a control of 10 and a security of 3, then your target roll, if you combine those two, would be 13. You want to roll less than that. So that's how you choose whether you succeed or fail. So you want to roll smaller numbers in this game. And if you roll 20s, that's actually very bad. That's a critical failure. So you want to avoid that at all possible. So all characters start with their attributes set at 7s and the disciplines set at 1s. And as we build our character forward, we will add to that. Now, the first thing we do, every species has their own set of attributes that get enhanced right off the bat before we even get into the character creation itself. And as a human, I'm just double checking here. Where are my humans here? Yeah, as a human, I can choose any 3 of these attributes to add to. So I'm going to add, I like to have the idea of my character being pretty much under control. And I'm going to say they have good insight and they're a pretty reasonable person. So we're going to set those 3 to 8. So 8 control, 8 insight, and 8 reason here. So Suppose you want to put in here, let's see. I think we're gonna be a male human. Okay, traits. Where do we put species on here? I guess trait is a human. Human's a trait. Let's say human. Okay, so we have those three. Now, first thing we have to do after that is we have to determine kind of where did this person grow up. So you have the environment, and the environment comes in two flavors. Either there's settings, which can be various kinds of worlds that the person grew up on, or conditions, kind of the type of society that they lived in. So we're going to make that random. So if we're going to roll this d20, a 1 to a 10 will be a setting, 11 to 20 will be a condition, and then we'll roll again to determine which one of those conditions or settings it might be in. So we have a 13, so it's going to be a condition. There are 6 different conditions here. So let's roll again, find out where we're at. We're at 15. It's going to be asceticism and introspection. So asceticism and introspection, I don't think I can't even write all that in there, but we know what we're talking about here. So let's look at that one. It says, your life was a simple one, lacking in many of the luxuries that prosperous worlds take for granted. This was not because of a lack, but rather a choice, a belief among those you grew up with that external and material abundance can distract from self-knowledge and personal growth. All right, so we get a few things with this condition. We get a value. So values are kind of ways that characters look at the world, and during the game, if there's a situation where your value might come into play, that can give you certain advantages to the task. So there are values here. There's a random value matrix on page 90. I'm just going to do random right now. There's 20 of them. So just roll here on my d20. My first value, and it's a 20. And 20 is, you must walk barefoot in the dirt to really understand a world. I think that makes a lot of sense for this guy. I think that fits really well with the asceticism. So we have that. And then we get some extra attributes here. We get to choose one of the following attributes and increase by 1. Control, insight, or reason, which are all the ones I picked already. So I'm going to add +1 to insight. I think being introspective will give them a good kind of view on the world. And then discipline. Choose one of science, engineering, medicine, increase that discipline by 1. Let's go with science. I see this person using that, using their introspection to kind of explore the rest of the world around them. So, all right. So then we have early outlook. So this is how the character kind of was, brought up in the world, and their family life, the culture that they may have been surrounded by. And they have 2 options in early outlook. They can either accept that upbringing, or they can reject it or rebel against it. And that either way, that will affect the attributes and disciplines that we can assign to this character. So again, there are, 7 different potential upbringings. So let's roll our die and find out what we got. 19. Pick one or re-roll. I'll re-roll. 14. Artistic and creative. Kind of flows nicely from the asceticism here. So artistic and creative, and then we have to decide, do they accept it or do they reject this upbringing? So again, we'll do 1 to 10 they'll accept it. 11 to 12, they will have rejected it. So they're going to go ahead and accept that. All right, so when the character accepts the upbringing for artistic and creative, your character's life was filled with arts and creativity of all kinds, and no matter what pursuits the character favors, they are exposed to the great works of many cultures and given every opportunity to express themselves. So when you accept this, you develop a greater understanding of emotion and communication, increasing their insight by 1 and their presence by 2. So we already got a pretty good insight on this character. Disciplines. Your character's ease with creativity and self-expression facilitates many pursuits, allowing the character to increase 1 of command, engineering, or science. We already have 1 in science. Let's go. I mean, this is captain's log, right? So let's increase the command by 1. And then focuses. Focuses are, kind of things your character's really good at, or really is trained for. Maybe has a hobby. These can help enhance some of your roles. So let's choose a focus here. Gains a single focus that should relate to the character's preferred way of applying their skills. Examples are botany, cultural studies, hollow programming, linguistics, music, observation, persuasion, psychology. Let's do. We know they're kind of sciencey. They've got some command going on. Cultural studies, persuasion. They're supposed to be creative. They've accepted the creative side of things. Let's do linguistics. They have a gift for languages. Let's put it that. Let's say that. That kind of ties into the science, right? So, all right, let's go from there. Actually, I guess I realized I made a upbringing can be a couple different things. It can be upbringing. You also can have aspirations. Well, I've already gone into this. Let's just keep it. It's still random, right? Random stuff. Aspirations, artistic and creative. So let's stick with that. Okay. So we have our environment. We have our early outlook. Now we got to decide how our character was educated. That can mean Starfleet. That can mean something else. So again, we'll do this completely random. There are 4 options here. Let's see where we end up. 20. Civilian training. All right. So let's see where we are with this civilian training. That kind of makes sense, I guess. Civilian career training. Civilian characters are known to become involved in adventures great and small throughout Star Trek. Captain's log story around a civilian character offers a chance to shine a light on life outside of Starfleet. So we have a couple different options here. We have like 6 different random roles. See where we're at here. 11. Politician or bureaucrat. Okay. All right. I guess I went over the line there. Bureaucrat. Gotta spell it right. All right. So let's see. You are a civil servant operating within the structure of a civilization to ensure it continues to function smoothly and to the benefit of its people. Your role may be narrowly focused on a specific area of government, or you may be responsible for overseeing large departments or ministries. Your decisions impacting millions or even billions of lives. All right. Gain a single value, which reflects the character's belief developed during their studies. So let's go back to page 90 here. Roll for that. We have 3. Crew comes first. Now, does that make sense for politicians? Yeah, I mean, crew, I guess you could say, the crew, the people you work with, right? So I'm fine with that. All right. Let's go back to our politician here. All right, attributes. Again, 3 points, which may be divided among 2 or 3 attributes freely. At least one of the attributes to increase must be insight or presence. We got a lot of insight already. As good instincts and a strong personality are valuable for getting into office. Let's try to keep it even keel. I'll add 1 to presence. And then since, I don't like having these low attributes here, so I'm going to do 1 daring, 1 fitness just to kind of round it out a little bit. So we have 8s across the board, except for insight and presence are at 10. Disciplines, you increase your command by 2. All right. And 2 other disciplines by 1 each. In addition, you may reduce one of your other disciplines by 1 and add that point to any discipline not already increased. Interesting. All right, let's do con. Let's do security. I feel like as a politician, you might want some security thing. Now, you can't reduce any of the disciplines below 1, so we can't take anything out of there. And I like keeping science at a 2. I suppose I could reduce command by 1 and put it somewhere else. But I'm okay with where we're at now. So select 3 focuses. So diplomacy, history, linguistics, philosophy, politics, something related to your role in public service. Well, let's do, I like diplomacy. And I think from a politician, politics makes sense, right? But then let's kind of go off board here. So there's a whole list of potential focuses starting on page 85 here. Let's see, we have command, etiquette, fleet commander, inspiration, intimidation, Starfleet protocol, strategy, tactics. Now, I suppose if we want to say we're involved with Starfleet protocol might be helpful. Con focuses astrogation. I mean, we're obviously not a pilot here, right? Starfleet protocols again. Security. Yeah, I'm not really seeing anything there. Mental resistance techniques. Martial arts. Medicine. No, it's okay. All right, let's go back to command here. Strategy tactics. I'm wondering, like, if I do this like kind of post Dominion War, maybe this guy was involved at some level as a, he was a politician. He's involved in some matter of diplomacy in the Dominion War. He kind of picks up strategy tactics, kind of building that decisive leadership, debate, cultural expert, multidiscipline. What does that even mean? Negotiation. Okay, let's do negotiation. Again, if we kind of lean into, this guy, if he's involved with a lot of Starfleet stuff, maybe he's kind of a key diplomat to deal with second contact negotiations or kind of sensitive situations that Starfleet finds themselves in. So let's do it that way. Okay. So that is our person. Okay. Well, same thing. Maybe I mean, this politician or bureaucrat. Maybe I'm thinking too much politics. Maybe this person's more of a civil servant. Plays more of a kind of a role in like law, something like that. So let me think about this again. Let's go with negotiation. I'm just trying to kind of think on the fly here what this person's all about. I select the diplomacy. I mean, I think let's do law. Politics. Deception, debate, composure. We got a little bit of security. What do we have over here? Maybe we do law enforcement. do law and law enforcement. Maybe this person is more kind of a, some sort of civil servant specializing in like compliance or regulations or enforcement of the law or something like that. And he's involved in Starfleet because he's operating at the fringes of lawful Starfleet territory or something like that. So let's do that, and yeah, let's do Starfleet protocol. Okay, this guy is into the law side of things. We'll figure out the details later. I'll fill that in off screen and we'll deal with it later. But let's call that for now. All right, so that's what we have there. Step 5 is career length. So is this person fairly new to this position, or have they been around for a really long time? So you have novice, experienced, or veteran. Again, there's a random roll for that as well. So let's see where we're at. 15, we are a veteran. So this guy's been around for quite a while. Now you don't do much, you don't get any new attributes or disciplines here, but you do get another value. So let's see what we can roll on that. We have a 6. Good leaders get their hands dirty. I like that too. I feel like this guy, he's a bureaucrat, but he's not one of those guys who's going to sit on the sidelines and sitting behind a desk and shake hands and things like that. He's out there. He wants to be in the thick of things, and do good things for people in the best traditions of Starfleet, even if you may not be Starfleet. All right. Oh, sorry. I'm rolling things. I'm not going to explain what I'm doing. So the last thing we have to do is establish some career events. So you choose 2 events that have already occurred to this character that kind of flesh out their background and get us to understand how they've gotten to where they are at this point when the story starts. So again, there are 20 random career events. I suppose you could come up with your own, but I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to see what we have happen. So let's roll the die again. And we have a 16. 16 is discovered an artifact. So during a survey mission, your character discovered a device or fragment of technology from an ancient civilization. Does that really make sense? I'm going to call this, I'm going to veto this one. I'm going to call that a mulligan. I don't feel like it really fits too much with the character. Dealing with a plague. Okay. All right, let's see how that works out. Your character's ship was assigned to provide aid to a world dealing with an epidemic. Okay, I can see that working for this character. So some questions to think about is, what was the disease that was running rampant? What planet was it affecting? Did the character deal directly with the sick? How was your character involved? All right, so to think about that. So attributes: helping people in distress during massive crisis. Help your character understand people, increasing their insight by 1. So we're really hitting the insight. Disciplines: dealing with a problem with nature increases your character's medicine by 1. All right. And a focus. Add a focus reflecting how they help during the crisis. Emergency medicine, infectious diseases, or triage are examples. Let's see what we have for medicine here. Chemistry, counseling. Emergency medicine, ethics, field medic, first aid. Yeah, I feel like this guy was probably... Yeah, let's do first aid. I feel like, character didn't have a huge background in medicine, but he probably kind of did his best under the circumstances. So, first aid. All right, second career event here. What do we have? 11 again. Well, okay. I don't think this one guy wants to deal with any more plagues. 5. Required to take command. During a mission, a crisis left the mission's leader unable to lead. Okay, I think this kind of we can kind of make this work, right? We can make this work. Required to take command. During a mission, a crisis left the mission's leader unable to lead. This required your character to take command, something that they may not have been prepared for. So some things to think about. What was the mission? What went wrong? Was the mission successful despite the loss of the leader? So your characters need to improvise during a crisis, increases their daring by 1. Sounds good. Being required to lead increases your character's command by 1. So we're maxing out command here. Focuses. Adding a focus reflecting your character's experiences during the crisis. Examples: composure, inspiration, leading by example. I think leading by example kind of plays into the value we have. A good leader gets their hands dirty. So let's do that. Let's do that. Okay. Interesting. All right, and then the last step here are some finishing touches. So we get to add one more value. Let's do that one more time here. 19, willing to sacrifice myself to save my crew. Okay. See how that might play into this character. Increase 2 attributes by 1 each. Now I can't have any attribute greater than 12, and only 1 at 12, which would be insight. But I really don't want to push it anymore. I want to kind of spread it out a little bit. So let's do. I feel like control would be nice to have, and fitness, or let's do reason. I feel like this person, fairly reasonable, logical person, maybe. No, I spelled enforcement wrong here, didn't I? Yeah, and I think you want to have a fair amount of control, especially if you're taking command of a situation. So, and then disciplines, increase 2 in disciplines by 1 each. Can't have any more than 5. So we already maxed out on command. I think con makes sense because con is described not only as like control of like a ship and stuff, but also like understanding the practicalities of working in space, including understanding the spacefaring traditions and protocols, knowledge of how spacecraft move and operate, spatial phenomenon. Yeah, I think that makes sense here. And then let's do security. I feel like, again, you got the law background stuff. So yeah, law enforcement, protocol, the negotiation side of things. I think the security makes sense here. So I'm gonna make sure we add up this correctly here. So we should have attributes total of 56. So let me do some quick math here. We have 9 and 9, 8, 11, 10 plus 9, 56. Great. We have 5, and then we have for discipline should be 16. So 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 1 plus 4, 16. All right. So we have done the basics for our character here. We're ready to kind of give them some final things. Obviously, figure out a name. What ship are they assigned to? We'll do that. I'll figure that out next time. What's the rank? I guess the question is, are they in Starfleet? They're, obviously they're a veteran. They had civilian training, but I think we have to consider certainly, given their extensive experience, maybe they have transitioned to Starfleet over time, especially if they've taken command before. Maybe they were within that command structure, or as a result of that experience, they joined Starfleet, or are they more of a attaché, or maybe like a technical expert that serves aboard the ship as kind of an advisory role, maybe. So I'll have to think about that. And kind of build out their history a little bit. Where exactly did they grow up? Where do they deal with this plague? When were they required to take command? And those kind of things. So I will do that kind of off screen, and next time come back and discuss this character in a little more detail as to who exactly they are and where they're at this point in their life, and figure out where they're going to be serving in Starfleet and what their first mission is going to look like. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this and maybe gave you some more insight into the game here and some thoughts about how this whole system operates. And we'll move forward next time looking for our ship and understanding where our first mission will be taking us. Until then, everyone, take care. Have a good day. Bye.